aboard the Galactic Exchange Academy's Culinary Anthropology Lab 3. The atmosphere was tense, not because of conflict, not because of politics, but because of smell. The scent coming from the human side of the room was doing something unusual. It was making a dozen different species question their respiratory systems. Some sneezed involuntarily. Others twitched. A few leaned closer. One passed out. Human Eli Davis had arrived early that morning to prepare what he called a simple cultural demonstration. His workstation was covered in rectangular brown slices, toast, and something sizzling in a small heat pan, bacon. The instructor, a 12-limbed star named Professor Kelvon, twitched an upper mandible and tapped his translator. Human Eli, what is the purpose of this demonstration? Eli turned with a plate in hand and a grin that had historically preceded everything from breakthroughs to interstellar war. Breakfast. The professor blinked all 12 of his eyes. You intend to teach interspecies culinary diplomacy with a morning meal? Eli nodded. It's the most important one. The Croc-Tar student hissed, shielding their sensory pits. It smells alive. Eli shrugged. That's the bacon. Several species began recording him. The presentation began with what Eli called staples. First, scrambled eggs. The Garvax twins recoiled. Egg was sacred in their spawning culture. One started crying. Next, pancakes with syrup. One student raised a feeler. Is that tree fluid? Yes, Eli said cheerfully. From a maple, we boil it down, put on starch cakes. The room stared. You harvest internal tree blood and apply to fried dough? Eli paused. Yes. The professor's translator buzzed in mild alarm. This violates at least 3 botanical rights charters. Eli handed him a fork. Try it. Kelvon hesitated, then tasted. He made no sound for 36 seconds, then whispered, I think I understand why you're so aggressive. You start your day like this. Then came coffee. Black. No sugar. No cream. Just pure Terran roast. Eli poured it into tiny cups and passed them around. For students fainted immediately. One started vibrating. The Nassari diplomat student stared into the mug, eyes wide. This is bitter fluid extracted from roasted earth seed? Yes. Do you weaponize it? Eli blinked, only emotionally. A silence fell. Someone whispered, humans are chaos addicts. Another asked, how many of these breakfasts do you have? Eli raised a brow. Oh, this is light. The professor composed himself. Let me confirm. You ingest caffeine, fat, sugar, salt, and saturated protein before engaging in daily tasks. Eli nodded. The Votharian translator shorted out, trying to interpret the concept of butter on everything. And yet, by the end of the lesson, nearly every student had tried something. One brave being devoured toast with jam and began writing poetry. Another licked syrup off the fork and began questioning the foundation of their religion. Eli stood with hands on hips, watching as aliens argued over pancake density and the ethics of frying animal products. He smiled. He'd brought breakfast and broken a classroom. By the second day, the Votharian student had converted his dorm into a toast shrine. The walls were lined with replicated loaves. He whispered to them at night. The cafeteria ran out of syrup by noon. No one had prepared for a black market pancake economy. Security logs showed students sneaking into human exchange pantry to inhale the scent of bacon grease left on napkins. The cafeteria staff began wearing gloves. One was caught trying to smuggle out a half-finished omelet. It wasn't sabotage. It was curiosity. That turned into craving. Professor Kelvon issued an emergency faculty advisory. Do not engage students in prolonged breakfast-related debates. There have been 3 fights over easy versus scrambled. 2 involved flame glands. In an attempt to restore balance, the instructor held a debrief session. Each student was asked to share their thoughts on the Terran consumption ritual. The Threxan chemist went first. Coffee appears to be a stimulant with high addiction potential. I drank 6 small cups. I have not blinked in 18 hours. I understand language and colors now. Next, The old Laurie translator. The combination of sweet and savory is emotionally destabilizing. I licked syrup, and now I miss my grandmother. She's not even dead. Third, the Jarnathi student, a strict herbivore. Bacon is wrong. It is a food with a personality. I can still taste it. I regret nothing. I need more. Professor Kelvon's antennae quivered. Is it possible human food bypasses evolutionary aversion entirely? Eli, seated in the back with a coffee, said nothing. He just sipped and winked. The Galactic Ethics Board received their first complaint. The Kavari delegation filed a formal protest. Terran food items are being consumed in breach of our no-animal byproduct treaty. Several of our citizens were exposed to something called bacon. They had begun drawing it in their sleep. Eli was called in. The tribunal asked him bluntly, "Why did you bring meat to a multi-species event?" He replied with 3 words. "It's called breakfast." The Cultural Analysis Division convened a panel. They found Earth's morning ritual met 5 out of 8 classifications for religious observance under compact law. Structured, repeated, communal, involves sacrifice of time, pigs, and dignity, has chance, just 5 more minutes. They debated banning it, until Professor Kelvon, now sipping cream-laced coffee with shaky limbs, interjected, "If we ban this, they'll start brunch." Everyone fell silent. They knew a brunch. Meanwhile, incidents continued. A student sold maple syrup at 80 credits per spoon. A Croctar was caught grilling eggs on a stolen heat panel. A non-sapient cleaning drone developed caffeine dependency after repeated exposure. The janitorial AI requested a sabbatical. It was denied. It rebelled. On the 3rd week, the Academy cafeteria tried to accommodate. Terran Breakfast Day launched to mixed results. Syrup reserves collapsed within 7 minutes. A 3-meter-tall methane breather demanded pancakes and set off the fire alarms. The entire 3rd-year Nasari class entered philosophical meltdown after tasting buttered toast during sunrise. One simply stared at the wall and whispered, "This is peace." Eli, still sipping his morning brew, was asked, "Did you plan this?" He shrugged. "We just like to start the day strong." Professor Kelvon issued another warning. Further human food introductions may destabilize class cohesion. Pancakes have the potential to undermine 3 religions and a peace treaty. Eli nodded solemnly, then asked, "Want me to bring biscuits and gravy next week?" The professor screamed into a napkin. The first interspecies ride in Galactic Exchange Academy history began at 8:12 local station time. The cause? 2 waffles. Not special waffles. Just waffles. Golden, crispy warm. Delivered by Eli Davis on a paper plate. Without ceremony. He'd planned to share. He never got the chance. A Virillian scout caught a whiff from 3 tables away. By the time Eli turned to explain, 6 different species had launched across the cafeteria, 2 using jetpacks. The waffles were destroyed. The memory of their scent was not. Campus security deployed non-lethal foam. The foam was flavored. This made things worse. A Jarnathi student bit a peacekeeper. The old Laurie formed a syrup cult. Someone yelled for maple and flipped the table. Professor Kelvon barricaded himself in the faculty pantry with a jar of Nutella and a fire axe. When the chaos ended, for dozens students were covered in syrup, 1 diplomatic envoy had defected to House Buttermilk, and the cleaning AI had joined a union. The Academy declared, "No more human breakfast. Permanent ban. No exceptions." They called Eli to the hearing. "Do you deny responsibility for the incident?" He set down a cup of coffee. "No. You deliberately introduced unstable food technology to an unprepared campus? It's a waffle. You call it that. The Virillians call it divine structure. The Croctar called it edible architecture. The syrup addicts now claim to see in hexagons." Eli sipped. "Sounds like a solid review." In a rare interspecies consensus, the Academy passed Black Flag culinary protocols. No caffeine above 0.03% concentration. No pork in any form. No syrup within 100 meters of classroom. No toast before 9 o'clock. The last rule sparked protests. Toast riots. Planet-wide hashtags. Hashtag free the toast. The moment a student tried to 3D print bacon essence, things escalated. Embassies called emergency meetings. The Threxan filed a motion at the Galactic Ethics Court to list human breakfast as a Schedule II controlled substance. It passed. The Terran ambassador, when summoned, simply said, "Breakfast is not a threat. It's a habit. We just happen to be extremely committed to it." A pause. "Also, we haven't even introduced hash browns yet." That statement was recorded, redacted, and filed under potential acts of culinary aggression. Back on campus, Professor Kelvon finally emerged, disheveled, waffle crumbs on his mandibles, eyes wild. He called an emergency assembly. This is no longer about food. It's about understanding the human condition. The class listened. He clicked his mandibles and whispered, "They start their day like this by choice." A hush fell. Kelvon looked around. They ingest hot fat, caffeine, complex carbohydrates, and sugar before any task. Then go to work, or war, or interstellar negotiations. One student gasped, "And we thought they were rational." Another whispered, "They are deliciously irrational." Eli was asked one final question. If this is how you begin your day, how you end it? He smiled. "Dinner." The professor turned pale. The academy tried to fix it. They called Operation Four Piece. A team of culinary diplomats, sensory scientists, and one retired lunch lady were tasked with one mission: reintroduce human breakfast in a controlled, responsible, non-civilization collapsing way. They failed. Week 1, toast therapy. The plan was simple. Offer non-buttered toast to species with high emotional regulation. No toppings. No heat. The results were immediate. A Nisari monk took one bite, declared enlightenment, and levitated for 9 hours. A Kroktar tried to marry the toaster. The therapy was shut down. Week 2, caffeine by consent. Strictly regulated coffee, microdoses. One sipper student, supervised by staff. A Threxan grew a second heart. The cleaning AI tried espresso and unlocked its own firmware. The professor requested military evacuation. In desperation, they reached out to Earth's top cultural containment specialists, Midwestern grandmothers. 2 arrived, gray-haired, soft-spoken, armed with aprons and passive-aggressive smiles. They unpacked casserole dishes like precision weapons: sausage gravy, cheddar biscuits, fried potatoes. No alien had a chance. The Nisari seer wept openly over a forkful of hash browns. Why would they make food that hugged your soul? A Garvax noble-tasted sausage in renounced wealth, a methane breather, previously metaverse, devoured a plate and shouted, "I see God," and she brought pepper. Order collapsed again. This time, they didn't riot. They worshipped. Eli found his face printed on toe-shaped prayer flags in the student courtyard. The words, "Praise be to brunch," were laser-etched into the floor. The cleaning AI refused to remove them. The Galactic Compact intervened. A high-ranking committee of xenoanthropologists declared human breakfast to be not a meal, but a ritualistic psychological framework rooted in chaos, memory, and butter. They issued a permanent policy. Human breakfast items may only be served under ceremonial conditions, in open-air environments, and only with Earth-certified emotional support utensils. Eli was promoted to Cultural Hazard Level 3. He was also asked to teach a course. He titled it, Survival, Sadness, and Syrup, Understanding Humanity Through Carbs. The class filled in under 7 minutes. The professor, once skeptical, now stood at the front of the great hall with a stack of pancakes on his desk. He'd stopped resisting. He ate one every morning. He claimed it made him stronger. He was not wrong. In the end, no one remembered the exact moment it changed. But somewhere between the bacon riots and the waffle cult, they understood. Humans didn't eat breakfast for energy. They ate it to begin again. To push back against a hard galaxy with something warm, greasy, and inexplicably hopeful. To survive by starting soft. Across the stars, embassies now open with toast. Peace treaties were signed over eggs and orange juice. Coffee was declared an interstellar stabilizer. And one phrase echoed from ship to planet to station. Let's talk. But first, breakfast.